everyone. Happy Saturday, guys. Thank you so much for joining the Adult Play Therapy Podcast show, where our tagline is anyone can play right. I'm your host, RK. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. This has been an amazing week for you. I know I've chatted with some people and friends and sisters, and I'm telling you, all of us have said this has felt like a year in 1 week. And many people would attest that this whole 2025 has felt like years wrapped up in 3 months. But do not fret. Do not fret. We have an amazing guest who can hopefully make your day even sunnier than what it's been. I have joining me today, Plastic Plot. Guys, I am so excited to have her join. Hello, how are you? I'm going to dial her in. If in fact you guys are already fans of her page, then you already know what content. She is a doll customizer. Hi, how are you? I'm over here doing your introduction. How are you?
Hi, RK. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? It's so good to see your lovely face.
It's so nice to see your face. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be able to chat with you. I really am.
Yeah.
And of course, we're both members of the Barbie Club as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was following you way before then. You were one of the first people.
Actually, you gave a chat to Barbie Club International, and some of your words are still with me in terms of what you were talking about with storytelling. So thank you for being part of the community and for being so supportive of me, and especially the storytellers in the doll world.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You and we are definitely joined at the hip when it comes to storytelling, and I'm looking forward. And guys, we are in a little bit of a time crunch, so we're going to try to get as much as we can in 45 minutes. But you and I are pretty much joined at the hip when it comes to our love for story. But before we even get to that, Plastic Plot, that says so much in your name. Can you break that down for us? What made you choose this name?
Oh my gosh, well, I was just brainstorming. You know, I didn't want to use Barbie in the name, but I thought, well, what else is evocative of dolls? Plastic and plot, because I always wanted to be a storyteller even before I was. I sort of got into it slowly with photography, and then sort of, you know, I was a little bit apprehensive because there's so many talented people on here. I wasn't sure at first if I could, you know, measure up. So I just picked that name and then sort of made it come to life. Yes.
You have definitely made it your own. And that's what I love about your content, is that it's so original. And before we close out, I do have questions that came from my children. We have 10 kids. And I love your content so much. And it's so appropriate to where it's child friendly. It really, really is. And our kids get into the news. And so they already knew whenever you had something that, you know, dealt with the different nature of things, and they were laughing. And so afterwards I was like, what questions do you have? So I do want to include their questions as well.
Nice.
But can you, yes. They were excited. They were just like, I didn't know you could do that. Like they were do that with your dolls, and have this, you know, level of comedy that you do as well as realism. Can you give us your background? Do you have a background with photography, a background in storytelling? What is your background with that?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think I've always identified as an artist.
Yes.
As a child, I loved drawing and painting and, you know, writing books and illustrating. And that continued throughout high school. And then I studied journalism in university. So that's you know, nonfiction. But of course, we learned creative nonfiction. And it was a 4-year program. And for the final 2 years of that, we had to select a stream. And I chose broadcast. So that meant I got to use cameras and the editing suite and putting together these visual stories, which gave me a great sort of technical basis, I think, for understanding things like pacing or lighting or different angles that we want to use to sort of evoke the story. As in terms of photography, I was never one to pull out my phone and take pictures until I discovered Dollstagram, which happened during the pandemic. And I thought, okay, I upgraded my phone and I just started taking some pictures, largely sequences to tell a story, like a carousel with 10 or so photos to tell a story. And then I decided I would get more into reels, and that's been so much fun for me to do.
It has. And so how did you discover Instagram? And have you always been a doll collector, and so it just naturally happened? That's two questions in one.
Right,
I'm sorry.
right. How did I discover it? So going back to my childhood, my mother did not approve of Barbie. This was during the time, I think, where we were pinning a lot on Barbie in terms of female representation and unrealistic beauty standards. And this was in her superstar era, where it was so much blue eyeshadow and, you know, tons of hair. I did have 3 Barbies. I had to ask my grandmothers for them. And I didn't love them. You know, they were all the same. They all 3 looked the same, you know, the blonde, blue eyes. And I didn't have many other clothes or play sets for them. Also, I'm an only child, so I didn't have anyone to... You're an only child?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, okay. I feel like there's, just real quick, there's like 2 things about that where it can make you sort of better at like playing in your own mind, but also can prevent you from maybe a lot of the things like doll play or role playing or playing house or other things that kids with siblings might have had. So so I didn't have a lot of dolls growing up, but then cut to somewhere in my mid-30s, I was at my partner's family's cottage, and his mom is a huge garage sale thrift store lover, and she had this bin of scrappy Barbies and clothes to go with them. And I just started dressing all these characters and thinking like, oh, it's like Bonnaroo Betty, and here's Francesca, and just like I started playing for the first time in years at like 34. And then that sort of simmered for a couple of years. I didn't have any dolls other than the 3 originals somewhere in storage. And then during the pandemic, I was on the Toys R Us website looking for a gift for my daughter, who was about 3 years old at that time. And I saw fashionistas. I said, what?
Yeah.
They come in all of these different shapes and sizes now, and hair textures, and so I just started with 1 doll, and it quickly turned into, I don't know, however many there are. I haven't counted.
Yes. Do you find it difficult with multiple dolls as far as wanting to feature your different dolls in your story, or, you know, like on your account, or are you just kind of like comfortable not having all your dolls be seen?
I mean, I want to feature everyone, but I think I'm limited by the amount of time that I have. Right? So, and that's starting to inform some of the purchases I make, is I'm now stopping myself after, you know, being a new collector here, you know, 4 years into this. I had the usual, you know, fear of missing out. I've got to get this new release, all the dolls. And now it's like, I've got to stop. I have too many. So I have to be realistic about how I'm going to use the dolls. So I'm asking myself, do I have a plan for this doll in advance of purchasing it? So I'm trying to rein myself in a little bit, because
Yes, I agree with you. I am so with you on that. As far as, especially as a new collector, or you're wanting to get back into, you know, collecting and being involved with your inner child and buying whatever's there, whatever's new, especially whenever the doll looks amazing. You're like, I want that doll. But I'm at that same place. Like, how am I going to utilize this doll? Is this doll just going to sit on the shelf? Is this doll because you know, this doll makes me happy and I like this doll? Or is this doll going to be for photography and involved in the story? Or am I just getting this doll because it's a chase doll, or it's, and it's new, it's, you know, and it's hot. Let's go ahead and get it. So I definitely agree with you on that. One of the questions, like I said, I don't want to discount their questions, but they have really, really good ones.
That's so sweet.
Oh my gosh, yes, I had to show them. I was like, this is amazing. We literally took, because we have one of those TVs where you can kind of like connect your phone wirelessly. to the TV.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, so that they could see the different content that you have, the different reels that you have. And number one, they were laughing just as much as I was. They definitely loved that library one. That was
Yay. Good.
that one is amazing. And my personal question is, whenever you have multiple dolls, like with the grocery store, or even with the one, like I said, with the library, are you bringing in other people to help you hold the dolls and have the dolls look like they're walking, or is that all you?
It has been all me for the most part. The grocery store one recently, I did have a friend of mine help, and that was completely necessary because there's no way I could have held two dolls plus a shopping cart plus, you know, our main Barbie character and hold the phone. So that was a lot that would have never happened without his help. But for the most part, it is just all me. And I actually have a
Okay.
neck mount for my phone where it's
What?
this piece that comes around, and it's sort of this stiff bar that you can adjust the angle of your phone and it will stick to it like a magnet. So I can go hands-free for my phone while I'm manipulating the dolls in front of it.
Wow. Well, I did not know this at all. So, okay, when you're doing this, of course, you're in public. Are you
Yeah.
getting any like strange looks, or are people like, wow, that's so awesome? Like, what is the reaction as far as doing the filming in public?
I'm sure they look. I sort of keep my blinders on. I use my peripheral vision to make sure I'm not getting in anyone's way. But other than that, I try not to engage. First of all,
Okay.
because I'm always on a time limit. And second, because I don't necessarily want to ask or answer questions. But occasionally people will come up to me and it's usually positive. They're saying that, oh, I love Barbies too, or I used to play with dolls. What are you doing? And they're very supportive. And I'll just
Okay.
explain, you know, I make skits for Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And then they're like, oh, okay, wonderful. You know, I think there have been a couple of moments that were a little iffy. So
Okay.
where someone was, you know, at the grocery store, for instance, there was a man who said, what are you doing? And I could tell by his tone that he was not a staff member. If it was a staff member, obviously I would pack up and leave if there was any concern. But this man just sounded a little bit skeptical or accusational about what I was doing. So I just left the area, and then he left the area, and then I went back to what I was doing. So
Okay. Okay. So,
I just try to ignore people. But like I've said, Toronto's a huge city, and there's always somebody else who's acting weirder than I am in every location I go to. Like the other day at the grocery store, I saw a man just stealing, like open theft. So I'm like, okay, the staff here have bigger problems than, you know, little old me with my like little iPhone and a doll.
I fully agree. I fully agree. And I do know the price of groceries has gotten up, but come on now. Yeah, we got,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother subject
Yeah.
or another skit. Are you writing all these skits ahead of time?
For the most part, yeah. I think it helps me stay focused. I'll actually go to the location with a shot
Okay.
list, like a script
Okay.
of what the story is going to be. Sometimes I'll have even pre-recorded the audio
Mm.
so that I can then be very considerate of matching the length of the clips that I'm going to film to the line that that character will be saying. And then I can shoot it sort of in order in a way where it'll be easy to edit later. But
Yeah.
sometimes I will just say, there was one recent reel that I did where a character was going to a thrift store, and she just enters the thrift store, goes to the back and looks at the dolls in bags. You know how, I don't know if they're always in bags, but at one of the chain thrift stores we have in this area, they put all the like nude dolls in bags at the back of the store.
Mhm.
And so she looks at them and then she just sort of runs away. And I didn't have a plan for that. I was just going to be in the neighborhood of the thrift store. I knew I wanted to go, and I'm like, why don't I bring a character? Like, I'll bring a doll just in case. And then I was like, well, I might as well film something while I'm here. And it turns out that one was shockingly popular. So that's great that people actually connected with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I agree. I agree. And actually with the narration and the and voicing of the characters, I was going to ask you, do you do that ahead of time or are you doing the narration as you're doing the filming? So you're doing this either before or after.
Right. Yeah. I
Mhm.
don't do any audio locally in the moment because there's going to be wind or background noise. So I'll do it in my bedroom on the bed because
Okay.
that's a nice absorbent area because of the blankets there where you're not going to get this sort of room tone echo.
Yeah.
So pretty good audio, clean audio from just like laying on the bed speaking into my phone.
What? Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
so cool. I like that because so many of us feel that we have to have the studio that's built and it's soundproof in order to get the character's voice to be crisp. So I like that you said, "Hey, I'm in my bed and I'm using
Yeah,
what's around me. The blankets they absorb, and whatever other furniture is absorbing the sound." I like that. Very very
exactly.
creative. Very very creative. Now, when you go on location, do you have to talk to the staff ahead of time and say, "This is what I'm going to do," or are you just going right in there and doing it?
I don't because I know I should. Like, that would be the respectful thing to do. But I usually just kind of go in incognito and hope that I don't get noticed. And that's there's there's different locations that will have kind of more risk, I think. Like, for instance,
Okay.
if like Legoland. So we have Legoland here. My daughter really wants to go, but I'm like, oof, they have policies at Legoland where visitors cannot attend without a child, and there's many children in attendance with their families. Would I want to be taking doll pictures in a place where there's children being captured in the background? Like, that might raise questions from parents, so I probably wouldn't film there. But at a grocery store where people are just sort of coming and going and it's a public area or a park, then I don't have to ask permission
And
there.
I've noticed with your filming that you really do work hard on not having other people there. And if they are there, you really do, you use your bokeh, you blur them out. So I respect that. Because you start getting into, like the waiver forms and asking for permission and all this other stuff.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
I want to
Yeah.
respect people's privacy. And I think that's sort of partly why I have gotten away with so much public filming, is because, like I said, I'm trying to stay aware of who's in the area. And I will actually put my phone physically down when someone's passing by and step out of their way to show, like, I'm not going to be in your way here. I'm not making a scene or a spectacle. I just want to do my, art project here on the side and not kind of get myself flagged
Yeah.
for being disruptive.
Oh my goodness. This is so amazing. So how did you do I have to ask, how did you do the horse scene? The one where, because that was just you by yourself, right? Oh my
Yeah, that,
gosh, how long did that take? Because
oh my
he's on a horse,
gosh.
and then of course Ken and your mini me's on a horse.
Yeah, I think I got like 45 minutes of footage to get like a 20-second reel.
Wow.
Um, so I tied the characters to their horses in
Oh,
advance
wow.
because I didn't want to deal with anybody falling off while I was holding the horse. I also had the Barbie character wearing like a very long coat so
Yeah.
that I could put disguise my hand under her
Oh
coat
my,
while she was sitting on the horse. And there were parts of it where I had horses on the ground. So if you look at it, you'll see there's sort of, I'm cutting back and forth between like moving horses where I'm just holding them in the air and horses on the ground. But yeah,
wow.
that was definitely, that was one of the harder shoots because it was winter. It was after a huge snowstorm. There were
Yeah.
people and dogs walking by. But again, I just made sure I had the time to not rush myself. And I was so happy with the result of
It was
that.
perfect. It really was. It was perfect. So
Thank you.
literally, you are like a puppeteer at the same time. You really are, because the way that you're having to handle your characters and be able to not have your hand be noticed in the midst of, and making sure that their clothes are hiding your hand while still filming with your other
Yeah,
hand. You are
yeah.
definitely a real live action puppeteer. So I love that. One of the other skits that you have, one of the other reels that I love, it was the first one that I showed the kids, was your Christmas one. And I personally feel that one on a deep level.
Was it the singing
Your
one?
Christmas
The
one was, it
physical?
was just like you, and you're doing the singing, which your voice sounds
Oh,
awesome.
thank
Yes,
you.
yes, and she's just like, the turkey's burnt and this isn't right, and uncle's falling out of the chair, and the kids climbing on the tree and falling down. How many of us, as much as we may love the spirit of Christmas, all the other things that go into Christmas is exhausting. It is so
Yes.
exhausting. So I love that you put that realism in there and made it comical. And yet, for many of us who have hosted parties and gatherings and feasts, we also understand the downside of having, to get the toilet unclogged and
Yeah. Real.
all of that, and wondering, why am I hosting another Christmas event? Like, this is too much.
Right.
So
Well,
where
we're
are these
hosting.
ideas coming from? Is it just like from your own life right there? Or?
Yes, that was mostly autobiographical because it wasn't this past Christmas, but the one before. So we're sort of new in our house, so we're the hosting house for my spouse's family. So we're still sort of getting the vibe of, preparing and, having a number of things going on at once in,
Yes.
when you're hosting 20 people or so, you really have to sort of be on. And that's a true story. My spouse fell out of his chair
Oh,
and the toilet did overflow. Okay, the Christmas tree part, my daughter did not climb the tree. That part was made up. And the part where there's carolers who came to the door,
yes.
like at the worst possible moment, like we were just sitting down and then they ding dong and then they knocked. Like they were so persistent. I was just like, oh my God. So after like the unboxing day, I think I wrote the song
Mhm.
thinking it would be funny. And then I was like, oh, I should do a doll skit out of this. So I did.
It was good. It was so good. I mean,
Thank
like
you.
I could go on and on and on about your content, because I just genuinely do adore what you put out here. And I'm always curious, like, is this something that you've observed in your own personal life or with others? Uh, it's fabulous. I love that, and that's always one of my questions that I ask people: is where do you get your ideas from? So, outside of the Christmas one, where do you get your other ideas from?
Well, thank you. Um, yeah, my own life. Music often. I really, really love music. And so and watching music videos. I mean, I'm of, the MTV or Much Music
Yes.
generation that we had here in Canada. And I think that has made such an impression on me in terms of telling a short form story with visuals, our music videos, and putting the music to the pacing of the editing of the reel. I'm also pretty strategic about what resources I have and the amount of time I have. So sometimes a story will be shaped by where I'm going that day. So,
Ooh, okay.
like I said, with the thrift store one, I knew I would be going to that side of town. So I decided to visit the thrift store and then I brought a doll. Or sometimes, my daughter does karate. So, there'll be an hour where she's in her class and I can quickly go to the park and film something. And I'll say to myself, okay, so what can I do at the park? Something with a doll walking. Oh, maybe, yeah. And then Ken's there and he's checking her out and he's going to, whistle at Barbie. This isn't, I'm giving it an example, but I'll sort of tell the story or plan the story backwards based on what I have or what what accessories I have. Like I have a bench. Oh, okay, something where people are seated on a bench. Okay, how many dolls can fit on that bench? 2. Okay, so it's a dialogue about something. What can they be
Okay.
discussing? And that sort of shapes the story off.
Mm, I like that. I like that. I like that. So just like drawing inspiration even from like the props and where you're going to be at, just like this last one that you had with Tinkerbell. I love it. I love it. And plus, What a Man is like one of my favorite songs. My aunt, it was my aunt loved that song, and she played it over and over and over and over again. And it was during the days when MTV used to actually play music.
Yes.
So, yeah, like when they used to have music on there. So she recorded on her VHS, like on
Yeah.
VCR or whatever. She had it on the VHS. That's how long ago that was. And she just kept playing it. She had it loop over and over again, and it became one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
yeah, yes, when I saw that, it just brought back those memories. And I love how you did it. It was well done. It was very well played. And so I can see what you're saying as far as just drawing inspiration from your props, your location, how much time that you have. Because I do believe when it comes to writing, sometimes people are reporting that they're having, like these creative writing blocks. And where do I draw inspiration from? And how do I make this original? So I like that you said that. And when it comes to what dolls that you're going to get and use as characters on that day, are you just kind of going in your room and your doll space and letting those dolls kind of speak to you as far as like who to take with you, or do you already have in mind I'm using these characters?
Often I'll just sort of do the casting by looking at the dolls and saying, okay, I think I want this sort
Oh,
of not be smiling, and
yes, I'm still here.
so that I can just sort of grab and quickly to put them into the appropriate set of clothes and
Okay.
then film with them. But sometimes there are very special dolls who tell me what story they want because of, especially the ones that are very specific looking, like you can see in their eyes there's something going on there. And so I'll often let the doll guide what the story should be.
I like that. I really, really do. And you do. You have to allow the dolls space to guide, because if you don't, or what I've learned, if you try to force it, you can really feel it. You're not really able to have a flow with the writing. And then kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I know in my case, the dolls won't stand upright. It's just like a lack of chemistry between the dolls. I can just feel it. I just feel it. I'm like, okay, this isn't working. I should have used this dog. This dog was telling me that she wanted to be in this story, or he wanted to be there. So
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I've been there. I want to make sure I get their questions. One was, where do you stand or walk at when you are filming your dolls in public? Like, are you standing on the side, or are you standing? I believe that they're wanting to know, like, do you crouch down and do this filming? How are you able to do that?
I think it's a very successful perspective when the doll is sort of at chest height. So I'll just hold the doll here
Oh,
and then film here. It's subtle because then you go lower and then the doll's going to look too low or too high or whatever. Um, and sometimes I'll walk backwards when I'm
okay.
doing video. So, and that's tricky. That is tricky on when there's people behind me and so on. But sometimes I'm just like, they'll have to get out of the way because I don't know who's back there. And so that will give the illusion of the doll coming towards the camera.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and I have filmed on the ground, but it's just harder on my body now to be going, on hands and knees down on the ground. So actually, one little trick, this has been sort of huge for me, is I got a grass mat from the hardware store. I
Okay.
think people would use it maybe like on their in their backyard or back deck or something. It's fake grass. So I'll find a picnic table, put down the fake grass, and then have a bench or a doll on a doll stand or somehow supported, so that I can still get that angle where the doll looks to be in proportion to its background, but I get to sit comfortably at the picnic table as opposed to being on the ground.
I like that. I like that. Yes. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I'm writing down these tips. I'm going to go all the way back. I like to do that whenever like receiving information, tips and hacks. I'm like, let me go back and listen to this so I can have my own personal understanding of how to do this. Because when we talk about proximity, it gets really kind of fuzzy. I was just talking to my kids as far as, because I have some items that's a little bit too big, and it was like, okay, do we put the big items to the back or to the front when we're filming? Do you ever come into that kind of issue as far as like an item being too small or too big, and then where do you place it?
Yeah, yeah. I've realized that you can use things out of scale in the background. I'm a little bit newer to dioramas, so I'm just trying to think. I have something I'm looking at right now where it's like a model of a dog skeleton, and it's way too big, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. But I think if I filmed it from a certain angle, it would actually look smaller. Like if I filmed it from above, that sort of that perspective might work a little better. But I mean,
Yes,
it's tricky finding just
perspective. Like,
yeah,
how do
but it's tricky finding just the right sized item, like drinking glass. I don't know why it's so hard to find a wine glass for a doll, but it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I have a lot of the 1/12 scale.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's gonna work. It's gonna have to work.
Right? Like, just put it in a cabinet in the back
Mm-hmm.
and it'll look great. It's perfect.
It'll work. It'll work. It'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question about your mini me's, which I love your mini me's.
Thanks.
Where did they come from? How did you customize them to look so much like you? And where do you get the skits from? Those were the questions. What made you come upon your mini me's? How did you customize them?
Right.
And where do you get these skits from?
I'll grab the one that's clothed.
Yes.
There she is. Oof. So this is the head from Victoria from the Twilight series.
What?
Yeah, Barbie released a line of Twilight dolls.
I didn't know that with her though.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I have blushed her face so that the skin tone, which was like vampire white, pretty well matches the palest curvy body.
Yeah.
And her eyes were a little bit crossed when I first got her, so I just dipped some I needed to change the whites of her eyes to make her look more uniform. So I just dipped a toothpick into some white paint and then just changed it ever so slightly. But that's all I did. Then I put her hair up. That's all I did though. I did not do any significant repainting to either of the dolls. I just got really lucky that Mattel happened to make a doll that passes for me for now. You know,
I know, right?
Until my hair turns white, and then what am I going to do? Reroot her, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah.
Have you done any rerouting yet?
No! I have the tools, and I've been meaning to, and I have a little pile of like reroot wannabe dolls, but I have not taken the plunge.
I haven't either. I haven't either. Even with my dogs, like my Reggie, who I have the locks on, his braids are still under there, just in case I decide that, I want to take the yarn off and just have the braids there. I'm so afraid of messing up on the doll. I'm like, I don't want to crack the skull and all this other stuff, but I do aspire to get it done. I really, really do. It's something I want to do.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But I mean, I really like to challenge myself, and so I think that's one of the next steps is to figure out how to do that, or even make a wig.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make and I follow some doll artists on YouTube, like Poppin Atelier and Hextian, who are so good on obviously my Froggy stuff. But yeah, I'd love to get better at customizing hair. So.
Well, you do very good with your customizations as it is, so I'm looking forward to seeing what else that you have. I mean, just those small little tweaks that you do with the lips and the eyebrows makes a huge difference. I've seen your scarecrow, who looked very frightening. I've seen, is it the clown that you have?
Yes. I have,
wow.
I have
and I really,
clowns.
really but you didn't go to school for art.
Um,
You did art growing up,
I
right?
went to an arts high school.
Okay.
So, and
Okay.
I majored in, as far as you can major in high school, in visual arts and drama.
Wow.
So yes, I did train in all areas of visual arts, and it has always been sort of the foundation of I think my confidence as an artist, is that was always like the thing I could do, like as a kid, it's like, oh, Julia's really good at drawing. And so, and I even worked at an art store, so I'm pretty familiar with the different tools and paints and brushes and stuff like that. So yeah.
I love the reason why I laugh too, because I've heard that voice whenever you do that voice for your
Really?
character. Yes.
I wonder whose voice that was.
I think I've heard you do that voice with your characters. I don't know if it's like the Allen doll or what, but I've heard it and
They come out.
always it
They
always
come out.
okay. If you made this is a different question. If you made a brand, what would the name of your brand be? So if you had a brand, as far because they were looking at you customizing your dolls and they were just like, oh wow, what if she had her own dolls and this and that? And what would the name of her dolls be? What would the name of your dolls be?
Ooh. If I say plastic plot, it'll seem too much like, yes, I'm just trying to stay on brand.
Hey, why not?
Why not? Okay, I really like the new basics dolls with the like create your own. I think that's the most. I don't know if I'm gonna get them, but I think conceptually that is so brilliant
It is.
to acknowledge those of us who like to customize and want to have several different heads on different
Right.
bodies and just basic black clothing. I think something like that would be something I would want to do, like, or even to have the hands come off for easier dressing, like the integrity dolls or some action figures have. That would be cool.
Yes, yes. And where do you get your action figures from, by chance?
Oh, the thrift store. A friend of mine gave me some. Yeah. Who else is it? Largely a friend of mine who he's local, and I think he had a lot of stuff he's like trying to sell, and then he just, okay, well, I'll just give it to Julia. And I was like, thank you. Because I don't know, I have like 12. There's not many, but they're
But you
I
make them work.
yeah.
You do. And I agree with you. You were like, what's the difference between an action figure and fashion, fashion doll kin?
Yeah. It's debatable. I mean, it's like the level, the scale, or is there rooted hair, or the posability, but I think there's such crossover now, at least in my world, that there really is no difference. The fact is, it's a humanoid figure that we're playing with, that
It is.
we're, inventing stories for. And you can do that with a stuffy. You can do that with, a pen if you wanted
You
to
really
put
can.
googly
That's the Toy
eyes on a pen.
Story showed us with that fork, the spork that they had.
Yeah.
And little Bonnie was so attached to it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you really can. You can make anything into a character. Our children, they're studying with the Pixar in a box. That's one of their curriculum that they have on their schedule. And they talk about being able to make a bush that's friends with a tree. And those are characters, and how do you create this, the emotionality that will come from them, as well as their intentions and the obstacles that they have to face. So, yes, I fully agree with you that you can make a character out of anything that you enjoy.
Yeah.
It's just how do you get it across in such a way. So, yes. And let me see here. What's the next question? Where do you get your jokes from? What inspires you?
Ooh, where do I get my jokes from? You know what? I don't think anyone would say, if I went to a party, I don't think anyone would be like, Julia was so funny. I don't think I'm naturally a funny person. I think I'm just more interested in language. And so I'll actually sit and think about what humor is and about how I'm going to end on some sort of a punchline. I think I like ending on a punchline. And so I just try to focus on how I'm going to get there, and how there's going to be some amount but minimal amount of exposition in order to get there. I mean, it's sort of like, where does any idea or writing come from? It comes from a little bit of everywhere, like personal experience or a song or something I saw on TV or a film or something my daughter said, or, you know, just something from like the dark corner of my mind. But,
I laughed a little too hard on that one, but it's true. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Well, the next one wasn't even really a question as much as it is a statement. She said, "Why are you so funny?"
Why am I
And
so
you just said-
funny?
yeah, you just said that you didn't really consider yourself a funny person, but yet she was like, "Why are you so funny?"
I don't think I'm funny. Maybe it's because I've known so many actors, like actually funny, actually funny people. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I love humor. I think because it helps to make life better. It's just straight up, you know, to laugh is one of the best things that you can do, and to even like laugh at the darkness, laugh at those dark corners, just be like, no, you're not gonna get me. I'm gonna find a way to, you know, twist this into something hilarious. I think that's something that motivates me. It's just like, no, you're not gonna get me down, dark world. I'm going to use this to create something interesting.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. And so really when we come down to it, it's like you're making this art for your self-medicine.
Yeah.
Or do you feel that it's for self-medicine, or do you feel that when you're making it, that your intention is for everyone else to receive that medicine?
No, it's completely for myself. I've not made a penny doing any of this. I mean, it would be nice to have recouped a little bit of the expense that goes into buying dolls and accessories for them.
Well, I mean, like when you're making your scripts and you're setting up all your characters, not so much even the financial aspect of it, but just, are you writing this really for you? Or do you write it like, oh, I know that they're going to enjoy this and they're going to enjoy this?
So I think I have tried to create things that people will enjoy, but ultimately I can never predict what people will enjoy. So, and I've, you know, I think it was about this time last year, I just sort of checked in with myself, and I'm just like, I'm not going to try and appease anybody else. I was trying to do some unboxings and things that I think are, you know, might get more views, but I realized like I don't particularly love doing unboxings unless there's a skit attached to it, unless there's like fun characters attached to it. So I said, I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, to not think about the audience reaction and not think about reach and finger quotes success of any of this, because it really is for me. And at the end of the day, like, I like to remember when I was in university, I made a comic. I drew and wrote a comic about snails.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea who was reading it. There was no comments section. There was no feedback from anyone about how these jokes were being received. But I just would sit in my room. I remember one night, this is a very clear memory, at like 22, I laid out all of those newspapers to the page where my comic was, and I just thought to myself, like, I did this. This is so cool. You know, just for myself, like, I know that I have, you know, put something into the world, and that was just for me, and that boosted my confidence and, you know, nourished my sense of self. And I didn't need anyone's approval in order to do that. I just did it. So I try to sit with that feeling now, that like I love it when people engage with my content, and I've got so many great supporters who have been so lovely to me, but I can never predict, and I don't want to focus too much on how stuff will be received.
I love that you said that. I love that you did, because I believe that any artist, regardless if they're a musician, or if they're putting paint to canvas, or they're sewing, they're doing what we're doing. They're, you know, they're doll enthusiasts, and they're doll collectors, they're script writers, whatever the case is, whatever art form that you have. I believe that's always a concern in the back of our minds, and sometimes at the forefront of our mind. Am I making content? Am I designing an outfit? Am I producing a product that people will enjoy?
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, you know, it's really ultimately about, what do I enjoy? Am
Yeah.
I making myself happy? Because I imagine that there's plenty of people, musicians, actors, whoever, that have to play a role and have to do their part, and they don't really enjoy it. And so everybody else, they're like, yay, it was awesome. But deep down inside, they really don't like what they're doing, and they don't like
Yeah.
like the product that's being, you know, produced. My mom was a seamstress, and there were times when she had to sew clothes that she didn't like, and she didn't feel that it fit the person right, but the person was happy about it, and she really was like, don't tell them I made that for you.
Oh no.
Shame on that. I know you're happy with it and everyone else may like it, but that is just not a very becoming outfit on you, but
Yeah.
that's what you want. So I agree with you that, especially since this is our hobby, we should own it and have fun with it.
Yeah. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you something that I had a couple of viral reels a year ago, and they were so illuminating to me because they were so nothing I had intended. I wasn't even going to post them as real posts. They were just going to be like in my stories. Like, here's a little behind the scenes of like, I cut a Barbie head and I took the face off. And who knew that it's garbage I'm not proud of. I did not put any thought into that. There's like no creativity. There's no story to that. But suddenly, like, one of them has 10 million views. And people seem to be really fascinated by what was inside the Barbie's head. And I had no clue that people would be so fascinated by that. But what I got from that was, you just don't know what people are interested in.
That's true.
And sure, there was some novelty in seeing what the inside of a doll head looked like, and that's cool, but that's also kind of silly. It's kind of brain rot, and I don't need to aspire to do that again. I don't want to be known as the woman who dismembers dolls for clicks. I'm just going to go ahead and continue being me, and
Yeah.
my views will go down and people will unfollow me, but so what? Because a lot of people do like what I do, and I like what I do, and that's what really counts, right?
Yes. 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 I always grew up with this statement from my mom, and then my husband says it, and he didn't even hear my mother ever say it. It's always quality over quantity. You know,
Yes.
and that's what really matters, is having quality people who are supporting your art and who get it, compared to having numbers. And I have nothing against numbers. If people have numbers, then great. We end up getting numbers, great. If we have numbers now, great. But the thing of it is how many people are really focused on the content that you're getting, how many people are really taking it in and being inspired by it. So if you have a smaller number, I have a smaller number, but I love the quality of people that I have. I would rather have the people that I have versus having this huge number of people and then having those people down my content or not really understand what the meaning behind it is. So
Yeah.
I fully support where you're at with that. Let me get back to the questions. I know that we're running out of time. When you first made jokes, do you write it out first? I think we already answered that one. Do you write it out first or act it out? Someone else said she's so good at her videos, she could probably make a superhero one.
Oh, I would love to make a superhero one. That's actually been, I have this long list of ideas, and there is a superhero plan in the works.
Okay, I will let him know. That was from our son Josiah. He was like, she could make a superhero one. Are you ever shy when you film the dolls in public?
Um, no, I was at first, but like I said, we're in a big city here in Toronto, and there's tons of people around all the time. I've worked with audiences and crowds, and I just know, like, maybe it's age too. I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and take up the space that I deserve in the world. I'm not gonna take more than my share of space, but I'm just going to go ahead and do my creative thing. And if people have a problem with that, well, look at what they're doing. You know, someone like people are beating each other up at baseball games because they were, you know, rooting for opposite teams. Or there's a woman who like jogs with a 2-sided stroller with a 3-legged dog, and I'm like, okay, well that's kind of weird too. But I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and be me. So I'm
I love
not
that.
I'm not too worried. I'm not too self-conscious. No.
I like that. I like that. Do you take acting classes for your different voices that you do for your characters?
No, but I practice the voices in advance. And I've even gone onto YouTube to sort of ear train some accents
Okay.
with, you know, varying degrees of success. But yeah, I did act in high school, so I think it's just something that I'm kind of interested in overall. Yeah.
I like that. I like that you said about ear training. I'm making a note about that. Did you learn along the way how to customize your dolls, or did she go to school for it, or did she use YouTube as a resource?
Yeah, YouTube and
YouTube.
Instagram. Just seeing what other creators are doing on here has been so inspiring. And there are some accounts who are so good with customizing and doing face ups that I just can only dream of being that good. And I've seen some of them in person, and this is no joke. There's no filters on some of these dolls. So I mean, I can just imagine, though, like everything, that it takes a lot of practice, and to not beat yourself up because you're not as good as you want to be yet. And I think a lot of it is the tools as well. You just really need to have super fine brushes.
I agree. I agree so much. And then I look at your videos and your tutorials that you show and the clips and how you talk about practice, 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 practice.
Yeah.
And so I really do. I look forward to being able to do some different things with the lips and so forth, because I love that you are able to bring such emotion, just like I said, with those small little tweaks to the mouth or to the tweaks of the eyebrow. It makes a huge difference. It really, really does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. So I will answer that question for her. Where do your storyline ideas come from? We already answered that. And what made you use Barbie and Ken as a medium for your stories?
Ooh, like specifically the just Barbie and just Ken stories were completely.
I think the themes in general, just with your storylines, instead of using any other things.
Because otherwise I might have to draw them like I used to. So it's easier to have physical objects like toys that I can bring out into the world. And I love dolls because I feel like I said, they inspire me. There's such diversity in them, especially now with the modern Barbie line and other fashion dolls as well. So yeah, they're 3-dimensional, so they make sense. Yeah.
And it's a lot better than having to pay humans.
Oh my God.
And having, and having to deal with different attitudes. Like, of course, we have our dolls falling over, and like you said, you have to use the wiring. I have no clue how you got that Tinkerbell to stick, to stay in the tree like you did. But there's different things you have to do, right, to be able to get your message across and film or take your pictures. But it is still an advantage compared to dealing with the different emotions and attitudes of humans, and everyone wants to get compensated somehow. So
and scheduling is so hard. Between try to get 5 people together, and it's like, okay, I can see you in November, maybe.
I know.
November.
And you're trying to get this done like next week. Like, how do we do that? And then of course rehearsal. They got to be able to rehearse and have time.
Yeah, exactly.
It does. It's very, very challenging. Then of course venue. With your dolls, you don't have to worry about having a venue. Right. Either you have the best cast and they're ready to work with you. Now we have to have a venue. That venue wants to get paid, and if you try to practice outside in the park, now the park wants to have the insurance and all this other stuff. It's not like when we were growing up, you could just go to the park and act out and do your little performance, and it was great. And now you want to do a big performance, you can't really do it the same because everyone wants to get paid in the end. So
I know.
Yeah, your dolls is not like that. They're just Okay, just,
Right.
as long as you give me some screen time, I'm fine.
Yeah. And then with doing the voices on my own, I can also re-film or re-record stuff. Like there's something coming out tomorrow where I was like, I want to tweak that line. So I just went back to the bedroom and re-recorded that line. Whereas if it was someone else who was assisting me, I'd have to, go back to them and bother them for another recording, and maybe they couldn't do it straight away. So it's just, I think, ultimately about having more control over the storytelling.
Yes, 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 yes. I agree with that. Do you have by chance maybe about 3 more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Because there,
Yeah.
okay, we were, because I don't want anyone to think that we are ignoring you. We're going to open up this space now for questions. I could ask you more and more and more because I just love your stuff, but I want to make sure that I include other people as well. Let's see here. Someone did have a really good question. All the questions that's been on here has been really good, but someone said, do you have tips for beginners who think on making doll videos? Which app or software do you recommend of? And thank you so much. And this was turquoise_cutie.
Oh, that is a good question. I would not edit within the Instagram app, just because I worry that your work might accidentally get lost or deleted. That's happened to some people, and it's more limited than you would get from, I know a lot of people use CapCut, which is a TikTok product, as I understand. I use VN, which is available on the App Store, and I think I pay $50 a year for that. So it's, it's fairly affordable. I still would like to get a different type of software that has more effects and stuff like that. So I might be looking into a new one. I know that there's, gosh, what's it called? Instagram will be releasing a new editing software, a new app separately. So that might be
Oh,
something to do. I might look into that. Yeah.
okay. I didn't know that. That's a really good question. Let's see here. Someone else had another question. Your work is amazing, said Jay Christensen, 17. I love all your work. It inspires me. That's very, very true.
Thank
Yes, you
you.
do have very inspiring art and work, and I enjoy it. When I need to pick me up, it's just pretty often.
Yeah, I pick myself up with my work.
I love it. She said I pick myself up. That's true. That visual punchline with Tinkerbell was great. It was.
Thank you.
It was.
By the way, she just perched on the tree because the tree had some vines growing on it. So there's just enough of a ledge for her little feet to go. So I didn't use any invisible string or anything for Tinkerbell.
I thought you did. Well, that was perfect. It was perfect. You just know, like when your dog character is in groove with it, and everything just flows, and
Yeah.
it literally did. It did. And did you already have that song in mind prior to actually doing your filming?
I I didn't, but it was the first song that came up easily when I was like, okay, what's the right song for this? And it's perfect. So I've always loved that song, just like you.
Yes, yes. And a lot of times, like for myself, when I'm filming or I'm doing like my pictures and I'm about to post, I find that for the most part, I will apply the song afterwards. It's like the song will speak to me. If and unless I'm like doing the pictures and I have the song on, and then I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and use that song. But usually the song does not speak to me until I'm doing the
Yeah.
posting, and then I'm like, okay, that's the song I'm gonna roll with.
Yeah.
What? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Was that a real beetle that you used in your video?
Yes. It was some sort of a June bug that I found. I was cleaning my doll room and I found this like whole dead June bug, which I think is some sort of a beetle. And I was like, oh, neat. I'll keep this I have a little like curio set of weird, fake potions and like tiny animal bones that I've used for misfortunes
Yes,
scenes.
yes.
So I was like, I'll use that.
I love that. I love that. And I love too, like anytime whenever I see misfortune, I think about because I have a doll, same doll, Madam Angela Mina.
Yes.
And I hear that same accent, like literally, literally. So you do her voice. I'm like, yes, that's like the same accent that I hear for her. And recently, my mom asked me, why do we as doll collectors get so excited whenever we see that we have the same dolls? And and I was Honestly, that's such a good question. And for me, I get excited because I'm like, how do you utilize your doll in your story? Like, that's always my thing, like being able to see that doll have all these different lives. It's almost like seeing that doll in various parallel dimensions. That it is the same doll, but depending on who we are and our life experiences and how we visualize our art, we're able to, you know, transmit and transfer that doll into like a whole different dimension and have them live a different life. So that's why I get excited, because I'm just like, yeah, it's the same doll, but it doesn't matter because it's not the same doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have loved seeing how other collectors used that doll. And I feel like so many of us had the same sort of impression of her. It's just that look on her face with that cocked eyebrow, like she's not taking any bull, you know? That's the core of her, and a lot of us picked up on it, and I think that's great.
Yes. Yes, I fully agree. Let's see here. Was that a real beetle? Someone asked, are you on YouTube? And that was Donna Clement 31.
Oh, no, I'm not. But I've gotten the advice that I should try it, because I think that maybe it might be a more appropriate place for the sort of serial storytelling that I might want to get into. I think it's just a matter of committing to it, like changing the aspect ratio of how I'm filming, and maybe looking into some desktop editing software. Because right now I do everything on my phone. I do the filming and the editing and recording the audio and everything on my phone. So I might want to like upgrade a little bit, but it's just, do I want to do that or just sort of continue what I'm doing? So it's something I'm looking into. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough to Threaten Kin. So, this is when we were talking about the action figures. Enough to Threaten Kin. That scene was like West Side Story, and it was. It was definitely like West Side Story.
Yeah, for sure.
Love West Side Story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do we have any other questions? I totally split the skull on my mini-me and then glued it back together. The fear is real when we talked about rerouting.
Oh, no.
And then when we spoke about having to get down on the ground and then getting back up. And I totally thought about the scene that you did with the sled.
Oh, my
You said that.
God. Yeah. That was 2 winters ago, and I was like, never again. My knees froze, and then I had to walk home. I did not plan. I should have worn snow pants, but I didn't. But yeah, I was like, okay, I need to build a diorama to get through the winter, because I'm not going to be going outside in the snow and the wind every year. So that was one of the last times where I was like, it was great though, like good pictures, but yeah.
Yeah, it did. It did. I get down, then I got to pause and brace for getting up. It's so very, very true. And we are getting older, and you do feel it. You do. You feel it. You don't want to admit it, but it is true.
Yeah.
I think someone said, how are you so good at repainting? That was Greta Gremlin official.
Oh,
you are very.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. I just practice.
and Greta said, hi, miss watching you. I hope everything is well. Well, thank you. I thank you so much for joining. This has been fun. Barbie and Buddy said, I'm great. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thank you for just saying hi to each other. I'm so glad you guys are able to do that. I love that we have this community with our group. I don't know about you, but prior to being in the doll community, I was part of the writing community. Since I have published books and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that because it makes sense. And it just was not the same at all.
No.
At all.
How was it different?
I feel that here we're more willing to talk and to share our life story and who we are and what we do and why we got into it. And even if we're not sharing anything from our own personal lives, still just being able to share the joy of what we do, and then championing each other on by saying, hey, that's great work and I'm inspired by you. I really didn't see that same thing in the writing community prior to. And not so much as like, oh, tell me how good I am or anything like that, but just people cheering each other on. It was kind of like, oh, well, you did that well, I'm going to try to make a sci-fi book that's better than that. Like,
oh,
okay, that's what it's about.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't
know I'm all about it. Yeah, I love being a cheerleader. I think that's so important to what we do as artists.
Yeah. And you're so good at it. So thank you for
I
being the
appreciate it.
cheerleader.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you for putting it out there, putting your work out there for us to be able to enjoy. One of the things that my husband shared with me, and this is really, like kind of, I guess, like the start of the podcast, was the importance of giving people their flowers while they're still here.
Oh.
And yes, yeah, he's like a huge, I talk about my husband a lot because he does. Even if we weren't together, that would be my best friend because he's already my best friend. But I left up with him. But I take a lot of what he says to heart. And to me, it is really important to be able to say, I enjoy your work and I enjoy how you're able to take information, and even whenever it's not the best for some of us, you're able to report it in such a way. And I guess that's where you're pulling from, being, a journalist, right? So you're able to take those current events that makes a lot of us sad, depressed, thinking about doom and gloom, and you put such a wonderful spin and twist on it. Just like you said, I'm not going to let the darkness take over. So I do. I appreciate it. I love it. And what better more than, when a better way to say to you, I appreciate it by, having you on here. Even if you would have said no, I still am going to tell you how much I appreciate it. It's not about doing this for cloud, or I'm just now learning what that word is. So it's a numbers game. It's not that good. Clout. I think it's clout. It's like clout. C-L-O-U-T, the clout.
Yeah, you said it right.
Yeah, I'm still literally learning what this is. There's so many new words, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Shoot.
No,
but
I know.
Yeah.
You know what I've been saying wrong this whole time?
What?
Remuneration. It's remuneration. It doesn't make any sense. And I think I used that word in a job interview once, like incorrectly. Oh my God.
Did you get it? Did you get the job?
I did. Miraculously. Yeah. I don't know how.
We have so many words, honestly, in our English vocabulary, or our dictionary, that doesn't always make sense when you say it. I was just talking to my kids about this. The word acclimate. If you look at that, there's no way that it would actually look that, the way if you look at it, it wouldn't sound that way. I had a Nigerian friend, and when I went to undergrad, and she would say oven instead of oven. But when you look at the word, it does seem like it would be oven and not oven.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's quite interesting how our American English words are, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
It's very, very curious. And I think that's one of the things that makes it interesting. I like words. I really, really do.
Me too. I love the subtleties of words, which is why I do try to be very careful and analyze the impact of each individual word to try to add detail to the story, because each word itself can be a reveal of something. So
I get that. And that's why, on this last note, this is why I understood when you said, I don't really consider myself funny. I just understand language and the use of it and how to use words. And I fully understand. There's been times where I've had plays prior to being in this doll life. I've had plays out there, and there were parts that I did not intend when I wrote it. I didn't intend for it to be funny. I didn't write it with this mindset of, they're going to laugh right here. I just wrote it. Either this character's responding to someone, and it just makes sense to write that particular part in that way. But then once presented to the public, the audience is laughing at that part that I didn't even think was funny. So I get it. It's like, I put it there because intellectually it makes sense to say that, for that character to say that. But then it's said in such a way where that they catch hold of it and they make it funny. And then now I'm like, that does sound kind of funny now.
Right? Yeah. And that's what's so cool about sharing your work, is getting that feedback. Yes. And, whether it's a laugh at a moment that you did or did not anticipate, or or it's an extra sort of like something that you're getting from the audience. And similarly a chance to improve when people are saying like, oh, it might be a bit of a negative comment that perhaps hurt my feelings at first, but I've taken a lot of those negative comments as feedback. If there is truth to them, then okay, I'll take that into consideration. I might not change what I'm doing, but I'll take that into consideration if it was a meaningful comment or piece of feedback of some kind. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's the beauty of what we do here on social media compared to if you do a play or you write a book, and then you have to wait for the feedback. You have to wait for the book signing for someone to say, oh, I love this part, or I didn't like this part, or why did this character do this? But then whenever we publish things and we post it here on social media, you get, just like you said, that immediate response.
Yeah.
And then it lets you know, like, this works. This works for this character, or maybe I need to rethink this, or I still am, just like you said, I may not change it, but at least I did get a response, be it positive, negative, or neutral. So that's one of the things for me as a writer that I enjoy when it comes to social media.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I'm so proud to be part of the doll community here. It's really given me a sense of meaning that I never had this before. I didn't have a hobby for years. I didn't have a group that I felt gave me community outside of, work and friendships and stuff. That was all fine. But this has been so beautiful, I think, because of what you spoke to earlier, is that we are supportive of each other and encouraged by each other and inspired by each other. So yeah, it's given me a lot.
I agree. And then the factor being that we can meet so many different people from different continents and countries and states and cities. It's just as priceless. It's truly, truly priceless. I know during one of the conversations that I had, something just came out of my mouth that I am now holding on to. It was just that we are united through play. And I really do feel that in my heart, regardless if you play golf or you play checkers or chess or you play with your dolls like we do. We are truly united through play. It doesn't matter who we are, anything that nature, we find such a commonality. And I'm telling you, like, I truly do. I enjoy being here. I enjoy the work that you produce, your art. And if anything, I just hope that you keep putting it out there because we're enjoying it. We really, really are.
Thank you so much. And definitely.
Like, I'm thinking once when we get off of here, there's going to be a lot more people doing some public filming, filming their dolls in public and taking pictures. I'm telling you, you just gave us all like a boost of confidence on that. I've done some pictures outside. I don't get a chance to do it as much because, we got our 10 kiddos and stuff. So I'm kind of like wherever they are and I'm in the kitchen,
Yeah.
But hey, I definitely feel further inspired to remember to take a doll with me the next time I go shopping because I like I said, I'm personally inspired to do more public photo shoots, and I'm pretty sure that those who are joining right now and even later, whenever they listen to this on replay, if they say replay anymore, I know replay's like
I do.
Oh, so it's like replay, rewind. I was talking to the kids about VHS yesterday. I'm like, I missed those days. It's return and rewind. They had no clue. They were just like, what do you mean that the tape is on wheels? And what?
Right. It's a fax machine. Like, yeah.
I thought the fax machine would always be here. I mean, some businesses still have it, but it's not the same like an email and scan. It's not at all.
I know.
Technology is just is taking over. So
I know. I'm still figuring it all out every day. And online, like this, none of this comes naturally to me. Like, I've first of all never done a live before, but before the Dollstagram, you've made it very easy.
Oh, thank you.
But before Dollstagram didn't even use social media much. Like, someone had to explain to me what hashtags were. So I've really tried to figure that out, and I still don't really know what they do, to be honest.
Yeah. Because sometimes I'll read a post because like I try to, keep myself abreast and informed, and I listen to different content creators like this is what they do, right? And so I listen to them and they're like, you don't need hashtags. In fact, Instagram's going to get rid of hashtags. And I'm like, okay, but then here comes 2025 and I still see hashtags. I'm like, do I use the hashtags? Do I not use the hashtags? And then I've had people say, I actually found your page from the hashtag. So I'm like,
Oh.
what do I not use it? So I just use it. I know that I know one thing, that you can't use the same hashtags for each one of your posts, that they have to be different. Because I got shadow banned before
Oh.
by
Oh.
using the same ones. This was like early on with me posting. I didn't know. I was like, okay, I'll just use the same ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's happened to me, but now some of the posts that I thought were banned did come back. They were revealed later on. So I mean, and it keeps changing, right? I used to try to analyze all of that and try and share my findings with people, but now I'm just like, I don't know ultimately how any of it works. So I'm just gonna make my stuff and focus on that.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I'm at too. It's so much going on. So much going on in daily life and world events and so forth, where it's like, this is that place of escape and to enjoy ourselves. So I don't want to make it too complicated. That was my 2025 resolution. After I saw that people were still using hashtags and stuff, and it seemed like all the studying that I had been doing over the last couple of years to try to understand Instagram, and then the algorithm keeps changing, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to post when I get my chance to, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Same.
it. That's it. I'm going to enjoy my dolls, and I'm not going to make this thing be stressful.
No. The minute it's stressful, it's just, why would I waste my time on it, right? So I'm actually posting less now, because I think I got caught up in you have to post every day and to stay relevant and to get growth. But I'm like, you know what? That breakneck speed is going to burn you out. So I'm just going to focus like on the quality, not quantity, just like you said, and just doing what I want and taking breaks whenever I want. And, again, I'm not getting paid for this, so I can take a break. I can take a vacation whenever I want.
Yes.
And
yes.
That's great. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because if anything, guess what? While you're on your break, people are going to go check your page, and they're like, okay, I know she's going to have something. So it's not, to me, those who are the quality followers, we're going to check, and you're not going to lose us as a follower.
Yeah.
So regardless if you take, a 2-day break or a 2-month break, whatever the case is, there's been people who have taken a year break, people who have enjoyed their content and see them beyond just content producers. Like you're supposed to pump something out each time for my own personal enjoyment, although I'm not paying you. People who realize, hey, you're human, and this is your outlet. This is your space to release and craft and create. I believe that we get it. And so we still follow you regardless. If anything, during that break, if they haven't heard from you, they're like, hey, everything okay? How are you doing? Because it's the quality of the people who are just, people who are just there because of the quantity or everyone else is doing it. Like you said, they'll naturally fall off. There isn't going to be any inquiry into your human life. It's just more about just sucking up the content as much as they can. And you have to wonder about those kind of people sometimes, because are you just trying to get information, or are you just trying to take an idea and run with it? Or do you really respect me as an artist?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Or like they'll follow me expecting a follow back, but I don't necessarily follow everyone back, and there's no rhyme or reason to it necessarily, but I don't. And then they'll unfollow you. It's like, don't try and pull that. Don't trick me. Yeah.
I have to end it with, I know I've said it a few times, but oh my gosh, the one that you had, and you had both your minis, and they look like they're at a swimming pool. I like maybe like a resort, and one comes up to the other one, and she's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Is it 5K? I think it was like 5K, and the other one's like, don't get too excited about it, and then the number dropped right off. I get that because, and there's some people who have reported, they're like, when I'm inactive, I've gained more people, but then when I start posting again, like someone, I'll have like a certain number drop off. Why is that? And I for me personally, what I've learned is not to get caught up in the numbers, because when I'm so concerned about trying to keep whatever number that I have and have it grow, I spend less time on really focusing on the content that I want to put out
Yeah.
there. Like you said, it leads to burnout real quick.
Yeah. And we have no control over it. And posting on TikTok for the past year has shown me, as well as Facebook, has shown me that sometimes something will do really well on one, but not the others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the exact same content. And I have no idea. So you really can't put too much stock in, you know, the reach or the likes, because the fact is, you know, if the algorithm has not found certain markers or the right audience for you, or it doesn't know you yet, then, you know, you might not be, quote, as successful. But it's really not about us as creators. It's also about this format that we're using, which has its limits. So,
and I love that you said as successful. I recently saw a reel with James Baldwin and Maya Angelou, and they were talking, and he said, there's truly no artist that's really successful. And she was like, you're so right. Because when you hit that idea in your mind that you're successful and that you've arrived, it's almost like you hit a brick wall. Like you don't really allow yourself to still explore and be curious. And I get that. At first I was kind of like, what does that mean? But then it makes so much sense, because your artistry comes from this place of pain and suffering at times. But it comes from this place of curiosity and what ifs. And if I feel like I'm a success and I've made it, I've arrived and I'm done, I really don't question the what ifs anymore. Yeah. And then I'm just producing for the masses what I think they want.
Yeah, exactly. So just do you.
Yes.
And you know what? I think the artist's life has always been challenging. And historically, again, I like to think of certain examples and keep them fresh in my mind so that I feel better about the Impressionist artists, were at first laughed at in Paris and in France when they were first exhibiting, because this was new to have something that was so unrealistic looking. But now we look back and say, oh, the color, the light, what they were capturing here, it's so gorgeous. You stand back and you're seeing the whole picture. If you look closely, you're seeing it's just a bunch of dots. So I think often about the Impressionist artists, or think about Monet, or people who did not get praised when they were alive.
Oh my goodness, you're right on my stomping ground, because literally that was one of our coursework. I homeschool, so that was one of our coursework, as far as that artists, for the most time, were not acknowledged in their lifetime. I love Frida Kahlo. She's one of my favorite, top favorite artists, but she was not truly celebrated during her time and era. Her husband Diego was more celebrated than she was. And even the way that we really do broadcast her work now. And I have a Frida Kahlo doll, but I'm pretty sure, quite honestly, if she were still here, she probably would not agree with it, because she really did not want to be broadcast in such a way. She valued her privacy, and she said that she made art that was for her. And then we talk about different forms of art, and we look at surrealists. Their art form was not appreciated either. We were during an age and time when really, truly, busts and portraits were the main thing that was respected, and anything else that was outside of that was criticized and critiqued and seen as odd. After people have spent so much time and energy and put forth their heart into their work. So if you're looking for, just like you said early on in this conversation, if you're looking for someone to acknowledge it and praise it, it may not happen. It may happen, but it may not happen. And you still have to be willing to go forth with your art and put it out there, because for the people who it speaks to, that's what matters.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I have enjoyed our conversation so much.
Yay!
Like I said, I'm going to be going back to write down information, because I love going back to hear the different nuggets and so forth that I hear from my guests. And I hope we're able to do this again, because I have enjoyed our conversation.
I would love to. And so have I. Thank you so much for wanting to talk to me.
Of course. Thank you for your yes, and for allowing me to be the first one to talk to you. Like I said before, I got to get some confetti so I can just be like, and I'd have the kids come clean it up.
Yay, good. Put them to work.
Exactly. Dude, they put me to work, so
Yeah. Goes both ways.
it does. But they set up the lights and stuff, so I can't complain.
Oh, nice.
But I can put some extra work out there.
Yeah.
All right, sis. Well, you have an amazing evening. Tell your family thank you so much for allowing me this time with you. And I'm looking forward to your new reel that you put out.
Yay for Barbie's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, you said whose birthday?
It's Barbie's birthday tomorrow.
Don't tell anyone I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna edit that part out. Yes, it's Barbie's birthday. I'm gonna try my best. I said this year, I was like, I'm not gonna stress about putting out, doing stuff on events, but I do hope that I'm able to put something out there. Yeah, this is the 80th.
Is it the 80th of Mattel?
Okay,
but it's her
80th of Mattel. Thank you for explaining that, because I was like,
I think
80th for Barbie? I was like, but Barbie came out, and okay, Ken is 61 and Barbie's 59, so I was just like,
yeah.
80th? Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but 80th for Mattel.
Someone will tell us. But
Yeah.
It's Barbie's 66th. That I know.
Okay, well, that explains it all. That explains it all. So Barbie, yes, 66.
Yeah.
Well, she's looking fine that month for her 66.
She is. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to what she put out there, and maybe possibly I'll get a little birthday something going. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to get my area organized for it. But yes.
Good luck. I hope you get a chance to play.
Me too. I'm trying to do some renovation. So while I'm renovating, maybe I'll take a couple of pictures and put a cake out there. And yeah.
Do it.
Awesome.
Do it.
Awesome. Yes. Well, sis, thank you. You have an amazing evening and a good weekend. We will definitely be staying in touch.
Yes. You too.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who wrote and chimed in. I appreciate you as well. We both do.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.